Hello guys, welcome to the first video on my channel. I don't know, my channel name is a bit weird. I'm sorry about that. Anyway, the video I'm making today, I know I sound a bit young, I am young. I'm not gonna announce anything, only my opinions and my views matter in this case. So this channel is gonna be about some controversial topics. I already dropped my phone. Some controversial topics, such as philosophy, not really controversial, but like big talking points nowadays, so like feminism, morals, uh, philosophy, religion, all that kind of jazz. Just going to be reacting to some videos, not really just reacting, but we're going to every time then come up with a point that maybe I disagree with or I want to praise or add on to. I will whenever I post a video. So let's get into this. So this first video is obviously not the source. It's made by KGP TV, so credits to them for getting this content out. But it's really the title doesn't matter in this case, and we're just looking at what it says. The BBC video, big questions, TV program. Let's get into it. You can see I'm 43 seconds in. I'm on my second take, so it's gonna be awkward for me. Not really, because I feel a bit more confident now. I've done it for the first time, but let's begin.
Well, you can join in all the debates, morning's debates, logging on to bbc.co.uk/thebigquestions. Follow the link to the online discussion. Tweet using the hashtag BBCTBQ. And tell us what you think about our last big question. Does social media reveal men's hatred for women?
Right, so this first point he came up with, not really a point, but I'm just saying the last question. Is it really a question to say, does social media reveal men's hatred for women? Now, I'd say this, I don't think many people would agree with me, but for those who, go along the basis of morality, on the basis of the fact that when one person hates another person, it's not usually because they are a woman or a different race. So, for example, if I've been what would be called a sexist to a woman, right? You don't hate being prejudiced isn't necessarily hating, it's just belittling them in a way. That's other people are treating the hatred of women is sexism, but it isn't. Hatred for a woman, right? If a woman gets someone called abused on the internet, it's because they don't like her. Or if a man gets abused on the internet, so called, it's because it's them, not because they're a man. I mean, it's not like a feminist would say that. Of course, this is a person. They contradict everything. But like if it's for a woman, they don't necessarily hate the woman because she's a woman. They hate the woman because of what she's saying about men, or what she's saying about on certain topics. Like if she's religious, atheists might go and say, "Oh, I don't believe what you're saying," or religious people might say to an atheistic woman, "Oh, I don't believe what you're saying." So it's not really a hatred for women; it's more like a hate for the person, or like an exploitation. In some cases, is because they belittle them. So that's what sexism and racism really is. It's just not hating another group or person. It's belittling them and not treating them as other. Like they're not treating them as humans. You don't hate somebody as you belittle them. You don't take notice. That's the whole idea. And just because one person on the internet gets so-called socially abused doesn't mean an entire group hates an entire other group. I'm gonna say.
Now, if you'd like to be in the audience at a future show, email audience@menton.tv. We are going to be in Edinburgh next week, Bradford on January the 31st, Southampton the week after that. Well, 45 years ago in that feminist primer, still worth reading, the female eunuch, Germaine Greer, argued that women did not realise how much men hate them.
Okay, so what he's saying here is that this guy, forgot his name already, but it doesn't matter. He said that women don't realise that men hate them. That's probably because men don't hate them. Do you know what I mean? Like, let's take this for an example. A black person in the past, maybe when they were treated as not the same, right? They're mostly whites nowadays, but back then obviously they weren't. It's pretty obvious. But back then, if a black person was in a group of people who were of a different race, but obviously didn't hate them. They, treated them just like everybody else, and they had different views to the rest of the country at the time. The person wouldn't realise their hatred for him or her is because they don't hate him or her. Obviously, there is some sort of interesting racism going on in the past that was obviously, nailed into the institution of rights and stuff. But obviously, if a person isn't hated, they obviously aren't hated. Unless, they come into direct contact with it, it doesn't matter. If there's people who say they've been socially abused most of the time, it's because they've got opinions that people disagree with, and most opinions that people disagree with. Even ones that are, pretty obvious. So, it's pretty obvious that every race, every person should have the same rights, and every person should have the same punishment. But some people may disagree with that. Maybe they're not necessarily a racist, but obviously a person who wants to take over the country or wants to be a dominant force. So let's for example, I'm not trying to generalise everybody here, but some SJWs maybe they want minorities to become a majority. So the idea is that they're reversing the process. So it's like not people don't hate them. People hate what they're saying.
They know now. The advent of social media sites like Twitter and Facebook has displayed some men's views of some women to a worldwide audience. A lot of it is very nasty. Rape.
Men's views of some women. Now, you see here that he didn't say some men's views of some women. He said all men's views of some women. Now, you see in the background here where my mouse cursor is, there is men. Now, if, they're here, and they're not really going to debate, are they? You yourself, the man who's actually done this video, obviously is a man. And in the rest of the video you'll see he's pretty biased for a person who's supposed to be asking the questions against Milo Yiannopoulos. I'm not saying Milo Yiannopoulos is being discriminated or some form of this and that against him. I'm just saying that he has some sort of bias against, himself or maybe other men. Just double standards, really.
Threats, death threats made even against recently a woman whose only crime was to support an X Factor contestant. Does social media reveal men's hatred for women?
Okay, so not all men would have gave a, flying whatever. Men wouldn't really care as to, not all men would really care about X Factor and the X Factor singer, because for all sakes of the matter, it doesn't really matter to anybody else. So if some men are disagreeing with some women, there's going to be some men on the other women's side, there's going to be some women on the other men's side, and they're simply just stating their opinion on the singer. Some of them are a bit die-hard fans, obviously, but then when you got women saying, kill yourself because you hate Justin Bieber or something, I'm not saying they would, but you see what I mean by those double standards here? If one man made any comment about a woman, say it's about an X Factor singer, maybe they have a flawed opinion about their singing skills, and maybe they don't. It's simply a personal opinion, and it has nothing to do with groups hating other groups just because they have an opinion on an X Factor singer.
Kate, you were on this programme. You made a comment when you were on this programme last time. I can't even...
Before I say anything else, I want to point out that I'll probably make a few parts of this because it's going to be very, very long. So I'm quite analytical when it comes to my videos. So possibly I'll have to cut it parts, but it depends how long it takes. If it takes too long, then I'll have to obviously cut it into parts. But let's hope that doesn't happen.
Remember what it was, but as ever, it was interesting, it was controversial, it was stimulating.
It wasn't. It was a tiny little comment.
What did you say?
It was just about the way that somebody was being addressed. But so let's just do this.
And what's happened to you as a result of it?
Well, so first of all, let's just start at the top. Does social media reveal men's? I mean, absolutely, of course it does, and we've known that.
Okay, so you've made that absolute assumption that all men hate all women, and that social media reveals this. Have you not realised the amount of Black Lives Matter supporters who want all white people to be killed? Maybe some white people who have their own groups want all black people to be killed. Some men might want all women to be killed. Obviously they don't. It's just a statement most of the time because they're getting really, jerked off about something. And there might be a women's group who hate men, and they might be just jerked off about something. It's not always one group versus one group, double standards all the time. It's just people hating people. That's all it is. It's people crimes.
These attitudes are out there for a long time, and social media does exactly that. It's always done that. It takes all these opinions from around the world, but it actually does a lot more than that as well. The other thing that it does is it allows people to access you when you should be safe in your home.
Okay, so you're telling me that somebody messaging you on the internet is invading your private home. So you're keeping the scale of somebody invading your home over somebody who is simply giving you a comment about what you said because maybe you're a bit delusional or they're delusional about what you said, or maybe you disagree because it's something to disagree with or agree with. It's an opinion. Oh, well then, do you know what you should do? If you don't want people on social media messaging you and you're realising in the privacy of your home, turn off the electronics that you use social media for. You don't have to stick on social media and then go around and say, I'm being attacked in my private space. You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense.
Suddenly, once upon a time, if there were 100 people gathered outside your house shouting something at you, you would have called the police and it would have been dealt with. But
exactly. It would have been dealt with. Because that's actually invasion of privacy. There's 100 people gathered around your house. But that's not the same as someone messaging you saying they disagree with you. And maybe they give you a death threat or something. Well, guess what? That's called the internet. If you don't want them messaging you, just block them. You don't have to take everything to heart. They're not actually going to kill you unless there's some sort of murderer. In this case, if you have some sort of unfalsifiable or some sort of evidence, that's obviously provable that they're actually going to kill you, yes, you can report it to the police. I feel like this idea has been taken way too seriously. And nowadays, I've seen it in my school. I'm not gonna, I'm gonna be anonymous for most of this. But in my school, especially, when somebody, and we've had 2 incidents of this, probably more than that. Whenever even like a tiny little nip of comment, maybe it's a bit of banter, and they're like, oh no, and then both of us are being sent to a pastoral office or something like that. Because of a little social media comment. And we were both the same sex. It's got nothing to do with sexism or racism. So you saying that it's an invasion of private space is not being dealt with. It's been dealt with in the way you're saying it, and it's a bit ridiculous in my opinion.
But these days, because of social media, people from all over the world, people you would otherwise probably not go anywhere near, are able to get to you, as it were.
So what was it like for you when you?
So what happened for me was that I was on this show about a year ago, and we were in a debate about gender equality with Milo, and what happened was that
Milo, just saying.
Afterwards, I received, in 48 hours, I received 165 pages of Twitter abuse, including about 20 rape and death threats, including...
Twitter abuse. Twitter abuse. Do you know what you can do? You can just not look at those 165 pages. Just because it's there doesn't mean you have to, keep attached to it. It's like if somebody messaging me a nasty message, I don't like it, I'll just block them or just ignore it. Or just turn off the social media site. It's not that hard, really.
Unpleasant comments about my appearance, lots and lots of those.
Because of what you said to Milo over here?
Well, not because, many of them were from Milo, and many of them were egged on by him, many of them were encouraged by him, many people were retweeting him, my head photoshopped onto unattractive bodies, this kind of...
Okay, so a little satirical joke, maybe it's not satirical, maybe they want that to happen, they're having a bit of a laugh. You can just Photoshop their heads onto an unattractive body. It's funny. It's a bit of a joke. Like, trolls, for say. They're not coming to kill you because they Photoshopped your head onto an unattractive body. I mean, they're not like you really need to because you already have one, but really, you don't. It doesn't really matter, you know. It doesn't really go in a way that you are making it. It's the fact that you should just stop people from doing Photoshop because you didn't like that they did a little joke. So what? Really?
Of thing, pictures of me manipulated.
Yeah, Photoshop again. If you know it's not you, then it doesn't matter. Really, if I saw a picture of me, right, and I've been like fattened up to look like an absolutely obese male, right, you wouldn't just go around saying, "Oh my God, I'm offended. They did this to me." No, I'll be like, "Well, I know what I really look like, so I don't have to give a shit." It's pretty obvious and just a bit silly what you're saying, a bit childish in my opinion. Even though I'm a child, but I think I should have the right to say this.
To look horrible or whatever. And the fact is that I'm not the first or the last person to have been on the receiving end of this kind of onslaught. And these are not people questioning what I'd said. From Milo and from a group of people that he supports and encourages. And, you know, if I was in that situation and supporters of mine were to do this kind of thing, I would, of course, turn around and say, hey, this is not cool.
Well, exactly, because you have enough followers to control. It's, okay, if you have 1,000 followers, right? You can put out a comment where you could like snuff them out into a fact that you don't have that many people following you, and it's like even 100. Like that'd be really easy to snuff out. I'm not saying it would be, but I'm saying it would be a lot easier to snuff out than somebody who has hundreds of thousands or millions or tens of millions of followers. That obviously a lot of them are trolls. In Milo Yiannopoulos' case, it doesn't really matter. Milo Yiannopoulos can't stop all those people from doing what they want to. It's called freedom of speech. Now, I'm starting to feel, I don't really know much about Britain's laws, but I'm pretty sure it's freedom of speech also here. If anybody wants to comment that it's not like that, then do so, but I'm pretty sure it is.
This is not okay, but instead of which, you know, egged on by a community of deep-rooted misogynists, this is the world that we now...
Deep-rooted misogynists. Do you not see why you're becoming really silly here? If a man has ever dated a woman, they're not a deep-rooted misogynist. Like, they treated the woman well and stuff. What you're saying here is that their family is misogynist, that everything about them is misogynist. But what evidence do you have? They can just as easily manipulate anybody else's body, man, woman, black, white, Asian, fat, skinny, anybody. It doesn't matter, because they can do whatever the hell they want, unless they're releasing images that are authentic, but they should be under your private control, and that's called distribution of say pornography. That'd be bad if it's, you know, without your rule, if you know what I mean. Like someone posts an image of you naked, of course that's really bad. But if someone puts a photo of you on an unattractive body that's naked, it's not your body, so it doesn't really matter in your case, and it's not really anything to complain about. It's a little bit of a satirical joke, and you take it very well seriously.
Living. And it's not just me, lots and lots of women have been affected by this, including teenagers, including women.
What about men who have been affected by this? I'm pretty sure Milo Yiannopoulos is going to bring this up because he's usually a good representation of this idea, the double standards that all women are discriminated against and all men aren't, and all men are the oppressors. It's just not true.
All around the world.
Okay, Milo.
It's about time we addressed it.
What? What have you turned into? What have you turned into?
I used to be such a nice young man.
Well, you did. You're a kind of Führer of the furious now.
How can you
You're a major general of misogyny.
It's hard to believe, isn't it, that this...
well, why have your army reacted like that? You can't
homosexual-
support those comments.
No, of course not. But here's the thing. I understand why Kate doesn't understand how fame works, but I do. And the thing is, you know, I'm not particularly interested in a professional provocateur who goes out and says deliberately outrageous things, like I do, turning around and then playing the victim when she doesn't like ridicule or criticism afterwards.
I don't say anything outrageous.
Ridicule, let me...
Okay, so she just said she didn't say anything outrageous. Now let's give one example, which has already been in the top right corner here, that social media reveals men's hate for women. Now that's an outrageous comment, woman. Do you not realise that? Like, what's your name? I shouldn't really be calling you woman, but just because I forgot your name. Let's go back in the video if I wanted to look at your name. Honestly, I don't really care.
I'll let you finish.
Rights.
I'll let you finish.
Okay, so saying that social media reveals men's hate for women is a campaign for human rights, and now you realise that men are also humans, right? Men don't intrinsically hate women like women don't intrinsically hate men. Some men may intrinsically hate women, and some women may intrinsically hate men.
Stop. You know,
No.
after she lost the debate, as feminists very often do these days, because they've got facts on their side, you know, she turned around and she did what feminists always do, which is confect a sob story. Now, Kate is, like me, a professional provocateur, but only one of us plays.
Wait a second, guys. I'm just going to check the length of my video to make sure that it's adequate and it's not too long. Okay, we've been 20 minutes into the video right now, and we've only done 4 minutes, so this just goes to show how analytical I am. I'm not just, you know, just reacting, going, oh, look, I just react to video and I like it, goodbye. Like, I'm probably going to, for the first part, I'm going to make it about a 30-minute long video, maybe 35-minute, and then post the second part of it later on. Let's continue for the rest of the video. Are we doing right now?
The victim afterwards. Now, it's interesting. You know, if we get back to the question, it's interesting that you know that it's even being framed like this at all, because what the research shows, the Pew Global data from 2014 shows, is that actually it's men who get more abuse online.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to say this. He does have a point here about the men receiving more hate than women, but the idea here is that he's kind of advocating the anti-feminist thing, which is kind of provoking these feminists to act in a more controversial way, which they think is not controversial. Sorry about that. But it doesn't matter. I'm really sorry about this. It doesn't really matter that men receive more hate than women on social media. It matters that all people receive hatred on social media. And it's not necessarily just hatred, it's mostly just trolls. But the fact is, it doesn't matter because it's social media.
Than women. It is men who get more death threats, it's men who get more...
Okay, so you can hear remarks in the background about it's nonsense. I think it's pretty nonsense to say both things. I think the woman in the... I've watched some of this video before. I think the woman that comes after Milo Yiannopoulos and the other woman remarks this about two very pathetic remarks about men being more hated on social media, women more hated on social media. The idea is that everyone has had somebody send them a nasty message on the internet. And really, you know what? It doesn't matter.
Violent threats. The only thing that women beat men at, this is Pew Global data, is the gold standard of research. The only thing that women beat men in is cyber stalking. And guess what? A lot of the people doing the stalking are other women. What social media shows isn't that men hate women, it's that women hate everyone.
Okay.
And that women...
Okay. You can see the woman on his right. I mean, I have to say with myself, I'm technically an anti-feminist, but I really advocate for egalitarian sort of viewpoints. Like to take the opinions of everybody, unless it's a bit ridiculous. He just said that women hate everyone. Now, I know in this context that he's getting really annoyed at these feminists, but I don't think that's the right thing to say in this situation. And it's kind of trying to prove the feminist viewpoints of anti-feminists, saying they're misogynistic, and they could point to this guy. He's obviously not being misogynistic, he's trying to make a point here, but the point I would make in this situation is that everybody at least has one person to hate. Even if you're a loving person, you at least hate one person. The one person that hates you, you're going to hate them most likely.
Wait.
Let me just finish this. Let me finish this point. I promise
That's
I'll be quick.
outrageous thing to say.
It is kind of, but it's not really what he's trying to say. Like I've said, he's trying to make the point that by saying men hate all women, he can say that women hate everyone, and he can say men hates everyone. They can say that about anybody. It's just trying to prove the point under the guise of feminism is the fact that women hate blame all men. So I'm guessing his point here as a professional provocateur is that he's making the claims of the opposite in order to create some sort of opposition here. Kinda, I see why he's done it, but it's kind of provoked, and that's the idea of a provocateur. But it's kind of provoked the questioner here and the other woman to say that it is anti-feminist to say such a thing, and all anti-feminists act this way. I feel like this is what is creating this sort of gradient, and then the women, not the women, the feminists only see, the darker gradient of anti-feminism, and then anti-feminism only sees the lighter or the dark grade of feminism. I'm not saying feminism is intrinsically bad or intrinsically good, same for anti-feminism, but I'm saying that it's a wide spectrum for everybody, and that you can't just view every feminist or anti-feminist from one person, but you surely view that person from what they're saying or based on their position.
I'm going to qualify. I'm going to explain what I mean by that, right?
It's amazing.
Not only are men, not only. I'm going to get to you, Connie.
Okay, explain that to my four daughters. What you just said.
Not only.
Take the camera.
Explain that to my four daughters. Now, really, questioner, I don't know your name, but your four daughters doesn't really apply in this situation. You can make the same claim for men. Oh, that's my four sons. It doesn't mean anything.
Not only.
This is
not only.
Free speech.
Not only.
Speech doesn't mean it's not outrageous.
Well, we'll talk.
Free speech doesn't mean it's not outrageous. Yeah, same for you. Same for you and the so-called comedian that's here, my mouse cursor. You say such outrageous things such as social media reveal men's hatred for women, and because you're both provocateurs, you're going to say quite outrageous things. So he's made the claim that women hate everything, but he obviously hasn't made the claim. He's made an exaggerated claim of what he actually believes in order to provoke you into saying what you actually mean by what you're saying. Like it's okay to be white campaign that people are saying is racist is revealing their true intention, and that maybe they're anti-white or they're just being pushed away or they're being pushed into some sort of organisation.
Talk about your free speech about Tim Hunt in a minute. Not only are men the primary victims.
This is the man who
not only are men the primary victims.
Men aren't necessarily primary victims. Neither are women. This has been the whole point here. Rather than going the complete opposite and saying, instead of women are the prime victims, men are the prime victims. They're both victims of each other and other things that go along with it. Everyone is a victim. Not really. Like, the idea is, I'm not saying that everyone is a victim. I'm saying because everyone receives the exact same amount of victimization, it's not victimization. It's just the norm.
But women are the primary perpetrators.
Wait, let him finish.
Also the same for saying that women are the primary perpetrators. Doesn't go the same both ways in Monopolis. I have some agreements with you, but the idea of being completely anti-feminist, you really have to be in the middle for this one. If you're going to say that you're pushing for the right thing. It's not going to help anyone by saying men are the victims, because they're going to be pushed over women again. Like we've seen that women have been pushed over men because of what the feminists have been saying. I think we need to create an equilibrium here. I don't think either sides are saying the best of here.
Interesting, isn't it?
Why should we let him finish?
How much time do you get?
Okay, why should we let him finish? Right, so why should we let you finish? Why should we let you finish when you say social media reveals men's hatred for women? You know, it's called free speech, and this guy who made the show, it's up to him, but really should be he's the one who's allowing this, not you.
Okay.
How much time are you giving him?
Connie.
This is the man who went on Twitter recently and said he wanted somebody assassinated.
What? Oh, you can't make that claim. Where's the evidence? You've got to just draw like a piece of paper with a printed tweet on it. Like, you understand what I'm coming from here? Like, there's no evidence for what they're saying. They're just saying it open-mindedly, without looking at the consequences of what they're saying. and the whole thing is just a bit of a hoo-doo-doo. Look at me, I can say that they did this or that without any evidence.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
You're a liar.
Yeah.
You lied about Tim Hunt. You lied about Tim Hunt, and now you're lying about me.
He
You
said
are-
he wants
you are-
somebody
Please, Milo,
assassinated.
let Connie.
You
Make
are
him
Connie.
shut up.
You are,
Listen to
you are a
moderate.
fraud and you are a liar.
If I
You
were to
lied
leave
about
you
Tim
all,
Hunt.
if I were to walk
You
out of the
lied
studio now
about
and
what
leave
he
you all
said.
to it,
You lied
mayhem
to
would
BBC.
ensue.
Mickey, if you were to walk out of the studio, I would come with you. But he's like,
You would go with him, would you? Or would you want to continue arguing with Milo Yiannopoulos, or would you want to ignore his arguments because you realise that your arguments are pretty baseless?
Hopefully, you
Connie,
should
I'll
be
come
giving
to you,
airtime
if you
to
don't
someone
mind.
who's a
Make
serial
him-
Okay.
Connie, you are
Wait a minute, wait a minute. I want
science
silence.
journalist.
I want silence.
He's
I want
a
us all
bully.
to enjoy just a little 10-second window of silence, and then we can all calm down. No talking for 10 seconds.
Okay, but I'm still talking. Hey! Oh no, that was really innocent.
Kate, what were you going to say?
What I was going to say is that, I don't want this to be a debate about one individual. I think it's a shame that people give airtime to somebody, whose views and whose completely horrific statements have been so widely seen, and we should be no better.
Okay, so you're saying that if one person is being hated on a women's basis, or a transgender basis, or a black or Asian basis, it's not because it's them being hated, it's because their entire group is being hated. Now, what Milo Yiannopoulos is really saying here is that when a man or somebody who is white makes the same claim, the other groups, or the ones who are the extremists of the view pushed by the group, is saying that it is the individual. Now, these are blatant double standards, and they really shouldn't be put and forced into this kind of viewpoint. It's because, okay, there's one person, there's another person. One guy is one identified race specific, I'm not going to say. One person is another. Now, there's an entire group behind one, an entire group behind another. Now, when the one is a race with a bunch of other people of the same race, they can say that it's because the entire group is victimized. Now, that person who's an individual there, that's how it's being treated. It's not being treated equally. It's being treated double standardly, and the minority is being made the majority.
Challenge, though,
But
isn't it?
the point is that there is a huge weight of, and young women especially who go out and speak up online are facing a huge backlash, and I think it's very frightening. I'm often asked,
Yes, just like young men, just like young transgender people, just like young gay people, young lesbian people, young yenny people who use social media will encounter some sort of hatred. It's called the internet.
to do things like go into schools, and teachers always want me to go in and encourage young women to speak up.
But young women can speak up anyway. It's their own accord. You don't go around asking men, speak up men, or speak down men, because you use that as an individual basis, like I said before. Double standards here. You expect women to all be the same and work as a group, but then you expect men to be individuals and do what they want. It should be both ways. Both ways the same. Both ways you don't get support. You don't get support for what you're doing. You might get support from your family, but you don't get extra support that you don't need. That's just intrinsically put into place, because then that's just misogynistic on the basis of another group.
Express themselves, and I'm forced to say I don't actually think that young women are stupid. I don't.
Right, so I'm gonna have to end this video because it's a bit long. I have to make a second part to this when I can. So yeah.